Okay, Ken Roczen, Paris. What a weekend. Highs, lows, everything in between. I'm not sure I've ever seen Ken Roczen have such a chaotic weekend.
Yeah, you and me both, honestly. This was a weird one. I was trying to compensate some stuff with the bike. I didn't really feel that great on. I was actually riding with Motocross of Nations fuel yesterday, and I'm like, dude, my bike feels so slow and everything. So I feel like kind of on accident a little bit. I had a lot of stuff to deal with that, because lately I haven't done any changes to my bike. And we kind of just had to compensate this and that and whatnot. So I don't know, it just was really a weekend. I've had so many good weekends, I feel like, and sometimes I feel like you're bound to have a weekend where just stuff doesn't go right. And that was definitely for me this weekend. Even in the last one, like, I don't know if I've ever crashed twice in a freaking, and even before that, I lost the front almost before the whoops right there. And I don't know, it just was a tough one for me. Even yesterday, I just never really felt like myself. But that's okay, you know, I like I even said in my post before, I kind of stare these bad weekends. You know, sometimes you just have to stare it in the eyes. And even after Abu Dhabi, I texted Larry later on and I said, you know what, the struggle kind of made it fun. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes a little bit to see it. So I'm definitely not pounding my head in the sand. And because at home I've been feeling really good and I haven't really been having any issues. So nonetheless, this was really good practice. And yeah, it's pretty much off to Australia now, which will be a hell of a trip.
Do you feel like the crashes were a result of you being so distracted by the bike issues and trying to overthink what the bike was doing, that maybe your head wasn't fully in the game?
Well, I made some changes for the last one too, and I noticed right away when I started racing that my bike felt too soft in the rear and too squatted, so I didn't really have much weight on the front, and that hurt me exiting turns too, because I couldn't really get on the throttle, and so I had no weight on the front, and on top of that, track got really slippery, and that's why I lost the front end. And I almost lost the front end before the whoops, before I actually crashed. Then did it in the 90 over here, and then crashed a second time and lost the front again. So it was a moto to forget in the end. So yeah, it was just not really, because actually lately when I make changes, my bike likes it. Like, you can make changes, and it's not like a crazy, insane amount of difference. You know what I mean? But yeah, it wasn't really working here.
Do you feel like you actually have work to do now then? Do you feel like you need to go and test and address these problems, or do you just say, it was Paris, it was in France, a weird event, we'll forget about it and go back to our happy place?
No, I'm actually, because I haven't really changed my setting in quite some time, and it's the same stuff that I pretty much raced at LA Coliseum and some of the other races. Like, I just haven't really changed my stuff, but the day that we left, something happened and we were flying, so we had to build something. It didn't quite feel right, you know what I mean? So I think this was just a one-off. So I'm by no means worried about like going back and having to test and flipping everything upside down, because I've ridden this setup in all kinds of different scenarios and different tracks, and I'm confident that it's good enough to do my job. So by no means am I going to go back and just flip everything upside down.
From the outside looking in, I would guess that the second main event today was when you were happiest with your bike. Was it then, or was there another moment through the weekend which was the sweet spot?
No, I would definitely say that the second one was probably where I felt like I could ride it the best, but I made some changes just because, you know, sometimes we feel stuff and I want to learn the bike on top of it too, so I'm like, oh, let's make a little change, but it just was too much. Like, the change was actually way too much for what, the change was small, but it affected it way too much, honestly, so yeah, that was the end of that. That was all she wrote.
Was it just suspension you were fiddling with, or was it power delivery and all of that stuff?
Well, yesterday I didn't quite have the fuel that I ride in the US, you know what I mean? So that was one of the things. And then mainly suspension. Well, the fuel thing also, it kind of messes with the idle and stuff. It's just our bikes in general are mapped for our stuff, and there's normally no problems. But this Motocross of Nations stuff was a little bit, just acted funky, you know what I mean? And especially in Supercross, you need the power off the bottom to do certain stuff. This track is not up to spec, you know? So the gaps for the triples are actually really big. So I just didn't have enough oomph, you know, so that kind of threw me off, and yeah, it just was a bunch of stuff that kind of added up, I guess.
Two more quick things. How's the foot? Because I heard you dinged it again in the second main event yesterday.
Yeah.
And then after the crashes today, is it a little worse, or where are we at?
Well, I crashed on my left today, so it didn't affect my right foot, but it's just kind of gets pissed off, right? You walk around on it all day, and in the boot, it actually feels the worst. Yeah. So, I mean, it's fine riding, but if I just stand there and whatnot, it's the ball of my foot, and it's still swollen, and you're just constantly walking on it and actually just rolling off of your toe. That's what hurts. So then when I crashed yesterday, it wasn't a big crash, but just like dabbing my foot in the ground, it just like another one of those stinger, and all this does is preventing it from actually taking that next step of the healing process, you know what I mean? So I guess you just keep aggravating it, but it's just soft tissue stuff, so I'm not worried about that there's anything really wrong with it. So it should be fine.
Last thing, you're off to Australia tomorrow. Are you going to be able to ride midweek, or are you basically having a week off until Melbourne?
Well, I'm having a week off of riding, but it's not going to be like a resting week since we have a long. Are you going as well?
No, this is the first time we're going to go our separate ways.
Good for you, because it's like a 6.5-hour flight to Dubai and then 14 from there, and I land there and it's 11 p.m. at night. So if I get a lot of sleep in the plane and then I have to deal with it being in the middle of the night, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm not really riding throughout the week. I'm probably going to go hopefully to urban surf and go surf maybe. But
I think that's the main reason you go to WSX Australia.
yeah, that's one of my, I can go there for work, but then being able to surf a wave pool is pretty cool. But I have to see how my foot is. Like, I'm not like fully set on it, but I would like to, and I need to get a little bit of wellness in, because we've been doing a lot of traveling and stuff. So getting there, I'm going to have to schedule a massage or maybe hop in the sauna or something.